Hi, everybody. We've got Kalyandra with us today, the interdimensional traveler. So, I I had very interesting experience recently because, as you know, Bashar is a big leader in all of this ET contact stuff, and so is Stephen Greer. And I'd been wondering for a while, do they know each other? Do they get along? Do they share notes? Does Stephen Greer listen to Bashar? And as it turns out, I met a guy like 15 years ago or more at Bashar workshops, a guy by the name of Kevin. And Kevin and I have been friendly, like acquaintances for all that time. We've had lunch together and stuff, and I'll see him on old Bashar recordings on YouTube, and I'll reach out to him by email because I still have his email, and so we've been emailing back and forth lately. I haven't read his last email that he sent me, but I'll every once in a while I'll come up with a question that I think, well, maybe Kevin will know the answer, and Kevin is in the inner circle of Bashar because he used to volunteer. He'd sit right in the front row, and he knows Daryl. He's friends with Daryl. They have dinner with Daryl and Daryl's wife sometimes. And I just found out recently that Kevin has the exact kind of status in the Stephen Greer world, that he's known Stephen for I don't even know how many years, and volunteers, and is part of the staff and everything for Kevin's events. And he said he just recently went to a Stephen Greer event, and I was like, oh wow, that's so funny you bring that up, because I wanted to ask you about Stephen and Daryl and Bashar. And so as it turns out, Stephen Greer has really no interest in Bashar, no interest in the teachings of Bashar and knowing what Bashar is saying. Daryl is very open to having contact with Stephen, but the opposite is not true. So that's a little disappointing, I have to say, to think that, like, we have these heavyweights, we have these people who are very huge in the community of ET contact, and they don't share notes. They don't collaborate, and and this has been, in my opinion, this has been an issue for all of us when it comes to the topic of ET contact and UFOs, and just the whole gamut of that particular world, is that there's not enough cooperation. There's not enough people like getting all the information. You could have a little bit of information, like you could focus all of your attention on Area 51, you could focus all of your attention on Roswell, you could focus all of your attention on Bob Lazar. If you don't know Bob Lazar yet, do a Google search and go on YouTube and type in Bob Lazar, Lazar, and he's one of the first like whistleblowers ever to come out and say, yeah, I saw the craft and studied the craft. And there are people who have a certain level of like clearance, and they have certain knowledge that makes them like the perfect person to do certain tasks for the government. like studying the UFO and its propulsion system and everything. And then eventually, they become just regular citizens of the world again, and they can talk about what they experienced. I've heard of Greer admit that he has a giant ego, and that's why I keep him at arm's length. Well, see, it's funny you should say that, because interestingly enough, my friend Kevin is now no longer in the Greer inner circle as of that last time that they got together, and he was mentioning the ego part. David Wilcock also would very much be back when David Wilcock was the sort of the star of Gaia TV. He would admit that he had, and the ETs actually told him. They either told him or they told Corey Good that he wasn't able to have the same experience that Corey was having because of his ego. So yeah, it's unfortunate, because it's easy for anyone, I think, when you reach a certain level of popularity in any field, whether it's music, entertainment of any kind, to not let it all go to your head and think about your fame and your status and how many people look up to you, So, yeah, I think that's a challenge for people who reach a certain level. And I think when it comes to David Wilcock, he had a pretty good life, a pretty good deal with his shows on Gaia. And I mean, I'm not saying anything, I'm not speaking ill of him by saying this, but it seems like, and I could be wrong, but I think he wanted more money from Gaia. And then that's what led to the breakup between the two. And it was a messy breakup that he had with Gaia. Very messy, lawsuits, smear campaigns, all of that. And ultimately, David had a lot of problems in the last part of his life. So it's important for people not to let this all go to the head and get a big ego about it. But that's a totally different subject than ET contact. But what I was saying before about this community that we're in is that because there's a real cover-up. Someone asked Bashar about this actually at a recording I was listening to. And because Bashar is saying to people, look, don't get all enamored by these conspiracies. Don't go into conspiracy theory world. It's not good for you. And somebody asked him, well, isn't the fact that the government's hiding all this knowledge that they have about ETs and UFOs from us, isn't that kind of a conspiracy? And aren't we really going into a conspiracy as we investigate this? And he said, no, because it's not a conspiracy anymore. It's just a fact. It's like everybody knows that that's true. So a conspiracy theory is like they're putting chips in the vaccine and we all need to avoid the vaccine, and people who've gotten the vaccine, because then that chip can rub off on us. That's a conspiracy. That's like conjecture. No one has any smoking guns or any evidence of that. It's just fear-based thoughts. So that's a difference between a conspiracy and something that we know to be true. Now we know, yes, of course, they know things, and they're coming out and saying it. They're saying, we've had these files, we've kept them from you. Here they are now. I haven't seen a release of any files lately. I don't know if you guys have, but I haven't seen anything come across my feed of more of these videos of spaceships, what are clearly spaceships, and they have a lot of real interesting shapes and things to them. But anyway, enough about all that. The sort of politics of all of this and the shenanigans. Let's all take a deep breath, close our eyes. And relax while you set your intention for ET contact. Set your intention for it to happen in the most appropriate way and the most appropriate timing for you. And for all of humankind as we seek out our big global contact event, our contact experience that we want to have. And how we want to see humanity evolve through contact, raise our consciousness because of contact with ETs. And perhaps this will be something that happens at night while we're asleep, in our dream state or in the waking state, in the flesh, maybe with humanoids, maybe with orbs, maybe with telepathic communication. As long as we remain open to all the various ways in which this can happen and will happen, we can start to move forward in whatever baby steps are in front of us to move forward in, to having the exact kind of experiences with ETs that we want to have as individuals and as a collective. It's interesting, you can open your eyes now. It's interesting to think about how one of the things that we say we want, we clearly want, is access to the technologies that they have. But what's interesting about that is that I've heard Bashar say in a couple of recordings that we actually have cracked the code of free energy, and we actually have cracked the code of how to remove all the negative, unwanted things from water, making any water drinkable water, and we're just not using it. Just not using these technologies. Just like there's plenty of food on the planet. There's plenty of food. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody gets to have food in their belly. So it's more like they're not coming with their technologies and saying, hey, this is what you've been looking for. They're really coming to teach us, how to live in a way where we're not so in fear of our own survival that we feel like we need to hoard or we need to keep resources from certain people who don't have those necessary resources and things they need to live. So one of the things he's mentioned is having teachers for us who help us with planetary management, is what he calls it. So we can live in harmony with our planet, with each other, and with all the resources, making everything sustainable, that what we're doing is not just depleting and strip mining and all that, but is renewable, reusable kind of things. So that's the funny thing about it is how many people have that concept in the head of like, well, we just need the ETs to give us the technologies, when what we really just need is for them to say, you already have it. Here's where it is. Let's have a conversation about why you're not using it, and how can we help you understand the necessity of using it and making it available to everybody. I guess, what time is it now? Now is as good a time as any to bring in Ashanti, um, and see what she has to say, and realize that when I bring through Ashanti, there's communication happening, with all the clicks and everything too. So while you may be waiting for the words to come through and being eager to hear what Ashanti is going to say to us in English, because that's my language. So I speak for Ashanti in my language. She doesn't actually speak through me. So for any of you who don't know this about channeling yet, it's it's an energetic transmission. The energy comes in, hits me in the head, right in the brain, and then I have to translate the energy into words, which is what I do my best to do in the way that it's being transmitted. So Ashanti doesn't have to know English. She doesn't have to know Japanese or Spanish or Russian or any language, because they have us to do the translating into the words that are spoken in our on our planet. What does it look like with them saying this with governments still intact? What does it look like with them saying this with the government still intact? Saying what, though? About the technologies? One of the things that Corey Good talked about too when he was a big star on Gaia, thanks to David Wilcock, is he talked about how it's not just the governments, who have the technologies. It's also private people. It's also people who have enormous amounts of wealth who can have and develop these technologies, but not to share with everybody. Not in the Tesla, in the Nikola, not the Tesla, the car company, but Tesla, the guy. Nikola Tesla's idea was to share with everybody whatever he could find, because he was like a humanitarian who just wanted to help. So there are less Teslas out there now, and more people who just want it all for themselves. And that's a problem that, again, like, it's not even necessarily about convincing a government as it is about convincing the private citizens that could help us all, but benefit more from not doing so, since we have the tech but not using it. Yeah, I think, whenever we say, like, look at the United States, what is there, like 350 million people in the United States, and look at the size of the government. There's not just, what is it, like 400 and something, or is it 500 Congress people, and the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, and then all the governors, and there's so many people that comprise what we say and then there's the military, which is a branch of the government, sort of not elected branch of the government that also has technology. So there's a lot of people involved in the government. So some of those people obviously are very well-meaning, and I think those people get overlooked a lot when we just say the government, because it's easier to focus on the bad ones who are just like, operating out of fear. Essentially, anyone who's operating out of fear is usually doing so at the detriment of most people in the world. So yeah, it's I think what we're starting to see and what we'll continue to see is the pendulum swinging in the other direction in the U.S. government, probably other governments too, around the world, where you're going to see more good people getting into politics because they're fed up. Because they're fed up with what we currently have. So then there's more people saying, hey, I think I could do a better job. I'm going to get into this and make this. One of my clients is in the military and was telling me she is doing sound healings now with the soldiers. She's a captain. So she has a certain rank and she can do stuff like that. But what I was saying about the Ashanti channeling is the words are great, but the clicking and the light language and the tones, there's also information that you're getting that's being transmitted. I've heard Bashar say that when he does this with Daryl's teeth, he's communicating with us, that those sounds communicate to us in ways that words can't. So the clicking that Ashanti's doing, I guess, or the energy is causing my body to do, that is communication as well. And I also heard Bashar say in a recent recording that he does speak. When he speaks out loud, he's also transmitting an inaudible light language, because that light language also is speaking to us in a way that the words that Daryl can come up with don't say. So keep all that in mind in the beginning part here, where you're listening and sort of waiting for the good stuff, the English to come, that there's still a transmission happening. Okay, here we go. Mashkulamakiti. Scaniti koreski di kolapaete de koskandala kaiskala kolapati kalamatu kalashiti. Iskana. Iskana not kashkana. Bashkala matore bandura kanna I am Ashanti. I am Sasani. I am here now as a part of first contact for humans of Earth. We who are in extraterrestrial form are working together. We are collaborating and comparing notes. So even if you aren't, you can rest assured that we are. We are harmonizing to create a beautiful symphony for you all, an experience
that will blow your minds and knock your socks off. We want to get your attention. We want you to branch out. To think of yourselves as galactic citizens and ultimately as souls. We continue to offer transmissions directly to you and indirectly through channelers to familiarize you with our energy, with our vibration, so you can handle contact when it occurs for you. In this period of you acclimating to us, we also notice what works and what doesn't. This is a learning experience for us because we are learning how to connect to other civilizations on other planets by learning from our experiences with you. We do have some experience already in doing this to draw from. But you give us an opportunity to learn quite a bit. Because of how far you have gone into the depths there on Earth. Now, bringing yourselves out of the depths of darkness, even with help, is still a very satisfying and fulfilling experience for you. Those of you who chose to have this experience knew that you would be in for quite a ride. And you knew that you would have help. And that you knew that you would want the help when you became ready to receive it, which you are now. We are helping in a variety of ways. We are sometimes directly contacting scientists across the world, and other times we are intentionally dropping off technologies to be found and giving scientists downloads directly into their minds. We are working with those of you interested in spirituality as well, to help you with your challenges. And there is so much more for all of you to receive, even before the ships arrive and land. Not all ET contact experiences will be ones that you will have consciously. So remember that you don't have to have an ET standing in front of you to have a contact experience that helps you to grow enormously and with solutions to problems you have had for a long time. Make a point of letting in the downloads that you want and need to let in. And you will be more consciously and deliberately working with all of us to create a better version of Earth for you to experience and better lives for you to live. You have the willingness, and I know that. Just take the final step of opening up to receive us on a more regular basis and what we have for you. There is so much we want to give, so much for you to receive. So open up. And receive what is being offered to you freely and with great love and joy in our hearts. I am Ashanti. I am Sasani. This is goodbye for now. I will see you later. Bye, everybody. So what came to me at the end there was let's do an exercise now where we do exactly what she was just saying, where we open up to receive. Whatever downloads are available to us right now that are coming from maybe Ashanti herself, maybe someone on our galactic team, or everybody on our galactic team together. So close your eyes, everyone. Clear your head with some conscious breathing, some more deep and slow breathing.
and activate your receptors and open up at your crown. To receive whatever downloads, whatever energy and information is available to you. See the opening forming at the crown of your head, like a portal to let in more. Of these downloads, these energies. Open the crown wide, stretching it up and out like a funnel. And you don't have to visualize anything, you can just feel for now what's coming in because of your willingness to receive and because you've taken the time to do this and set the intention to receive from your helpers throughout the galaxy. The first contact specialists and your friends and family, the hybrids. Breathe consciously, continuing to clear the mind and continuing to open up at the crown and allow the energy and information to come in. That's of greatest service to you right now. When it comes in through the crown, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to direct it. You can just let it go wherever it wants to go. Just relax and receive. Don't even try to determine what it is that you're receiving, because they know. They know what we need and what is best for us. Very good. So that was, I think, just 5 minutes of doing that. Obviously, we all have 5 minutes we can spare in the course of our busy day. and maybe a couple times a day doing that, just seeing like, okay, obviously there's always more coming. What can I receive now? And I thought it was interesting that she came in right away talking about how they collaborate, where they're from, where with each other. There's Pleiadians, obviously, as well as the hybrids and other beings who are interested in contact with us, and they are working together. That makes sense. It's funny that I got that message in a weird roundabout way, because I was standing. The message about the information about Stephen Greer and Daryl Anka, because I was standing right next to Daryl Anka in May at the channel panel in the what they call the green room, which is like where you hang out before you go on stage in these venues. And he was eating like a tangerine, standing there eating a tangerine, and he knows me now because we did the last one in Sedona in 2025, or the last one that I did. And we, it's not the first time we had met. It was like the fifth or sixth time we had met, but he doesn't remember me. But he did. He knew that I was one of the other channelers. And so this time in May of this year, when he saw me, he recognized me, and we started talking. And I told him what my flight and everything was like, and how when I arrived in San Diego, I got to my hotel room and threw up. Like, all I had eaten, I had only had coconut water. I didn't eat anything on the 14 hours of flying and whatever it was with layovers. And I got there and I drank coconut water because it's so hydrating. And then I got to my hotel room and threw up. And I told him that. But I forgot to ask him about the Stephen Greer thing, because it was one of the questions I had for him in my head, and it's funny that it came in that roundabout way. So what else was I going to say about all of that? I still think that they should connect with each other. I still think it's important. And the other thing I was going to say about the because I follow now all of these different Instagram accounts that are covering sort of the UFO, like the disclosure stuff that's happening, right? And one of them is called Area 52, and you can check that one out. They're a big one, I guess, because my friend Kevin mentioned Area 52. And I recognized it as one of those Instagram accounts. And so Greer is unhappy right now because he believes that the way disclosure is happening is more along the lines of the fear-based stuff of like, well, we know they're out there, but we don't know what they want, or we know they're out there and they may be coming to take over, or we know they're out there and they've obviously got this powerful tech and they could. So it's interesting because you could look at the fact that they can prevent a nuclear war. You could look at that as they're such beings of peace. Of course, they don't want us to have a nuclear war. Or you can look at it as a show of power, a power play on their part to say, hey, look, we can even shut down your nuclear silos and facilities if we want to. And some people are seeing it, and some of these people are trained to be paranoid and to protect, the military people, to see something as a threat first and foremost, to see anything that they see in the sky or any other beings that are not of their country of origin as a potential threat. So you're seeing a lot of speculation too on these disclosure oriented accounts and sites and stuff where people are going, well, yeah, they're here, but they're not really sure what it means, because like if you only have some of the information, if you only have the information that they're out there, and you have the information, say, of the Anunnaki, you've read up on that, but you haven't gone into any of the spiritual stuff, then then those people don't know what the ETs want, don't know why they're here, that it's about the expansion of consciousness, that it's about helping us, not hurting us or taking over, enslaving us or anything. So that's the piece that's still missing in a lot of the disclosure oriented, YouTube channels and websites and Instagram accounts, is they just don't know. They don't have all the information, and so then people's paranoia and fear can creep in and make up stories about what's happening and what's going to happen. So that's where people like us come in, where we can say, well, actually, I've been researching this for a very long time, and here's what I've come to learn about it. And I think, obviously, all of that's going to start to come to the surface next year at the latest, by next year. Besides raising our consciousness so we can become galactic citizens as a benefit for the universe, what might we offer our galactic family and the hybrids? Well, like Ashanti just said, they actually learn from us just by observing us and how we respond to them. So we're already helping them just by being ourselves, because they benefit from, they're interested in making contact with lots of different worlds, and by going through the process with us, they're learning about how to do it better. But I think anyone, of course, can reach out to their hybrid kids and say, hey, I'm here, I want to connect to, I want to be a part of the family, let's get together in the dream state tonight, tell me about yourselves, tell me what I can do to make your landing here better for you. I'm looking for mutuality in relationships. Yeah, it is mutually beneficial. All of it is mutually beneficial. And also, the other thing I said to Daryl, I told him, because I went on first at the channel panel, which I wouldn't have normally requested, but I thought I was possibly going to bring my wife and daughter on this trip, and I was going to want to get everything done on the first day as quickly as possible so we could all head to Disneyland in Anaheim. That's what I thought maybe was going to be the plan. So I went on first, which is not ideal. So I had already been up and channeled when I met Daryl the following day. And I told him, I said, I actually channeled a Sasani being when I went up there, and I told him about the name. I said, she told me to call her Ashanti, and I looked it up, and it means thank you. And it does mean, the word Ashanti means thank you in language spoken in Africa. And I told him that made me feel like it must be real. I'm not just making it up, because I didn't know the meaning of the word Ashanti when I channeled it. But it does make sense that we've already given them life. If you're thinking what are we giving them? We gave them the ability to exist as they do in this physical form, because without us, they wouldn't have had what they needed to procreate. So in a way, this is also them not only saying thank you, but also just wanting to connect with family. If you found out when you're 30, let's say that you were adopted, you might be interested in meeting your biological family, your parents, the people who, biologically contributed to your creation, and your cousins and possible siblings and everybody. So that's kind of because in a way we do that when we would do something like that. We would do that because we like family, like we like having people that we're genetically connected to, that we can connect to in other ways. And we also learn about ourselves, like if you're someone who's married, right? And you don't meet your spouse's family right away, but over time you start seeing them more frequently, you get to know them. It's like you understand your spouse better by seeing where they came from and the people in the family, and you realize, oh, that's where she gets that from. That's that. Like, it's eye-opening. It helps you relate to the person that you're married to better. And I think that with the ETs too, meeting us, especially our hybrid kids, getting to know us and who we are, and it helps them to understand themselves better. So that's a part of it too, what makes it a mutually beneficial relationship. Also, keep in mind that they're fascinated by our ability to overcome the hardships that we have, because we agreed to take on incarnations on a world where there would be this not knowing of who we really are, this forgetfulness, and all the emotions that we've had to deal with in our lives, and even just harsh weather conditions. Like the planet Ashanti, where Bashar is from, they don't have the tilt that we have, so they don't have the weather. They just have like San Diego weather year round. Like they don't have extremes like we do here. So all the things that we've had to deal with here, apex predator animals and stuff to deal with, and harsh weather, and not feeling like we're source energy beings, they haven't had that. So they actually learn about what's possible through observing us and getting to know, like, how did you do it? Like, how did you overcome that situation? How are you dealing with this problem that you have on Earth? And it shows what we're all made of, as aspects of creation, to see how humanity has been able to meet our adversities. What dimensions? The same. It's the same dimension, same density. I'm sure that, well, I shouldn't say that across the board, because Bashar's higher. Bashar's fourth density. We're moving into fourth density. But the ones that are going to come live amongst us are third, like us. They just imagine if every human being on the planet right now had never had to experience trauma, never experienced the not knowing of who they really are, and all that stuff. So they're very like self-actualized, highly evolved beings. And that's what makes it, that's what makes them sort of special too, is that they never had to face the kind of adversities that we faced, which means they don't have all the trauma that they're carrying and the negative emotions that are unprocessed like we do, and fears. They got the best of both worlds. They got the high intellect of the parallel Earth humans that were part of their parent group, and then they got us, the emotional side. So they got the intellect and the emotion, and got to grow up on a ship where everything was safe all the time, you know? So you take all of that and you get very highly evolved beings that are, you know, still in our dimension, still in our density, but more evolved than we are. Why do we experience trauma? It's a choice that we make to grow. I mean, you can only really experience what forgiveness feels like if you first have something that needs forgiving. And you can only really know what unconditional love is if you have conditions that are unlovable. That's how you experience something like the overcoming of a trauma too, the healing. You can't experience healing if you never get hurt, you know. So all of those things that are the reasons why we choose what we choose. Thank you for coming and thank you for signing up for the CE5. I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys again somewhere down the line. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Namaste. See you around, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.